So this webinar, the topic is 5 essential pieces every coach needs to build a successful practice. And here's what we're going to cover today. The 5 essential pieces every coach needs for a successful practice. You could be missing just one, which if you had in place could be all that you need to succeed. How new and seasoned coaches can find their missing piece. A core strategy for releasing the full potential of your coaching practice. And how to chart your own unique, easy path instead of following the difficult one everyone else says that you should. So a little bit about me. I am Jamie Skoltedi. My company is upscaleyourbusiness.com. For those of you who don't know me, I am a social media marketing strategist, and I specialize in helping professional coaches and consultants to systematize their business, maximize visibility, and attract ideal clients. And our presenter is Mark Canty, and his company is releasedynamics.com. And Mark is a coach for coaches. His company, Release Dynamics, is dedicated to helping coaches and consultants release their full potential by applying practical business and marketing strategies. And how would your life, or how would your business and life be different if in the next 90 days you could attract the kind of client you want at the rate that you need? Stay with us until the end. If you're not currently a member of our Upscale Success Strategies program, we'll share with you how you can join us. And if you do that, you'll gain access to all of our past and future webinars, monthly live implementation calls, bonus resources like worksheets, guidebooks, and some valuable free services that we offer as well. So with that, I'm going to stop my slides here, and I'll let Mark pop his on in there and have him get started. So
okay. Thank you. Wow, somebody from Nigeria. We're around the globe today. Fantastic. Yeah.
Great to have you all here.
Now I might just kill your name here. Coyote? Give me a thumbs up if I got that even close. Coyote. Yeah, welcome. So exciting. And let me hey, I got a smiley face, so I think I got it close at least. Let me share my screen here with you, and always get caught here trying to figure that out.
No, it's always hard to talk and open slides at the same time.
At the same time, so I'm going to share my screen, and just before I do, just to, again, a recap for those of us who just joined. Jamie is going to be monitoring, because I won't be able to see that once I share my screen. It'll kind of go full for me. But the chat line, so if you have questions, and please, one of the things that's important to Jamie and I and everyone on this group is that this is a collaborative idea. I'm not here to preach, although you'll find that I do talk a lot. And the idea being that, we participate together, and be a participant, not a spectator, is what I like to say. So really encourage you to chime in, ask a question, get involved. We absolutely love it when we have discussion, because it just makes everything better, and it makes we all learn from each other. We learn from you, and you learn from us, so we all grow together. So on that, I'm going to share my screen.
My little notepad out, so take notes myself. So yes,
I'm going to just share my screen. Things are going to look a little funny here for a minute, and then I will get them realigned. Oh no! Hey, there's a new feature. Maybe no. Yeah, this is cool, Jamie. Easy Webinar is updated. There's a new. By the way, those of you who aren't using this platform, we use Easy Webinar.
Yeah.
And we really like it. But they've just done a little update. I don't know if you noticed this, Jamie, but it used to be you could share your entire screen in application window. Now there's an option to share a tab.
Oh, okay.
So my screen doesn't go messed up for a minute. So isn't that cool?
Right. I don't see your screen or your tab. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
There you go. Yeah, you wouldn't see it, but when I went to share.
Okay, so, cool.
Yeah. So welcome to our webinar today. And again, my name's Mark Canty, and let's dive right in. So I want to try and get some content out as quickly as possible, so that we can also get to the meat of it, which is the Q&A and the back and forth that we have. So I'd like to do a little quiz here with you, and just have you mentally, or even on a piece of paper or whatever, count these up, check the boxes if any of these apply to you. You're unsure how to quickly grow your business. You're frustrated because you've researched and read lots of information, studied shortcuts, tried new tactics, purchased lots of tools, but your results haven't improved. You're stuck because of analysis paralysis. You're struggling with a lack of motivation. You're battling perfectionism, and it's bringing your progress to a standstill. You're unable to overcome that procrastination. Sorry, you're battling perfectionism. You're unable to overcome procrastination. You're disappointed with the payoffs from the projects you've undertaken. You're discouraged by the money you're making and the growth of your business. You're disillusioned because you feel you don't have the resources you need to succeed. You're wasting time searching for a breakthrough that'll immediately impact your income. You're overloaded with the number of areas you have to learn, problems you have to solve, and actions you need to take. So I'm not going to ask you to tally them all up and give us a number or anything, but go ahead in the chat and just give us some feedback in terms of whether you can identify with this. Are these, would you say that there are a number of these things? Give us a 1 if you would say, yeah, a majority of these things I can identify with. Just put a 1 in the chat box if you would. Jamie, are we getting participation?
Yeah, sorry, I had my mic off. Sorry. Yes, we are getting ones, and we've got some responses. First and last ones are applicable.
Yes.
And also most, if not all of them, was another response.
Okay. Great. And I want to let you know that these are really common, and both Jamie and I have been here. You know, as a matter of fact, I can say at some points in time in my business, I have actually checked every one of these boxes. So, so don't feel like you're alone or that somehow you're less than because these things come up for you. Because anybody we talk to, you could talk to the most successful business person out there, and they all would say that they've been through this at some point in time and certainly tackled some of these stressors and issues for them. So, so let's talk about how we can get around that and how we can maybe take some of that angst and some of those issues and really get down to some basics. So I want to talk about 5 essential pieces, if you will. And this came from a conversation that Jamie and I had, and it'll come up a little later. I think it's number 3 or 4. And Jamie, you'll know it, and you can share your story at that time. But this comes also from, you know, our experience in terms of working with coaches and where they get hung up and where they need clarity, if you will. So this is, by the way, yeah, you'll see, I thought I changed the heading that it said 5 essential pieces to gain clarity on, but I didn't. Maybe it will be on one of the slides anyhow. So number 1 is getting really clear on what you really, really, really want. Because this is where your burning desire is going to come from. And you've heard this over and over again. But I think a lot of people give this lip service because they don't take the time and they don't give it the mental thought or energy or emotion that it really needs. You know, this is something that you need to go deep. You need to dive deep. A lot of people will say to me, I know what I need, money. And I'll say, okay, how much? $1 million. I need $1 million. And that's not what they really, really want. And then they wonder why they've got 10 courses on their computer, on their bookshelf that taught them how to make $1 million, and they still don't have $1 million because they weren't clear on what they really, really, really wanted. So I want to take a minute to talk about this. So first I want to introduce you to a model who I learned this model. This was introduced to me by a friend and a coach of mine. His name is Joseph Reggio. And he introduced me to this model called the IMED model, which is to be internally motivated and externally driven. So what do we mean by that? Well, this is where that burning desire comes from. So the motivation needs to come from inside. And again, you've probably heard all this and you're going, yeah, I've heard all this before. I know exactly what you're talking about. Just show me the money. But the fact is most people are externally driven because, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you examples of this. Oh, what do I really, really want? I really, really want that car, that new car. Or I really, really want to go to Paris, you know, or I really, really want that big house. But those are just material things. And typically they're an outcome, an end result of something else that you wanted. And often it's an emotion. It's something that you need to fulfill. So I want you to think about this for a minute and think about what is your IMED? What really internally drives you so that you can step out into the world and then be externally driven to make that happen. The other thing I want to do here now is just take a moment to put things in place for you. And this is an exercise I'd like you to participate with me in. And I don't know whether you're participating or not, because you're at home or at your office or wherever you are. And I'm going to challenge you. If you're with a group of people or you're in a public place, do this exercise anyways. Do it for yourself, even though you might think, oh, I don't want people to see me, or it might be embarrassing. Just put that aside for a minute. And by the way, before we start this exercise, I want to check in. So can everybody see my slides all right?
I can.
Okay. Can we just get a 1 if you can read things and you see a slide that says 5 essential pieces every coach needs to find? Just give us a
All
1.
good. All good.
Okay.
Yep.
Everybody can see that?
Everybody?
Good. And can you see me?
Yes.
You can. Okay, good. Because again, my screen is switched. Now I'm going to do one more thing, and I apologize for doing this housekeeping right now, but I'm going to jump. If I do that, does my screen change?
No.
It doesn't. Oh, good. See, I'm learning new things every day. I just discovered something else. And I think this is because of that new feature that Easy Webinar put in. I know, Jamie, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Probably nobody else is either. I'll show you.
Yeah.
So that's cool. They've added a new feature, which is really neat. So this helps a lot. So what I want you to do is take a moment and think about something that hasn't worked for you, where you've run into a roadblock. Maybe something that, it comes to mind really quickly, and it might even be something that you're afraid of, that you're saying, oh, if that comes up again, then that's going to be a real issue for me. It might just hurt my business or my success. So take a moment, and if you would, you might even want to close your eyes to do this exercise, and take a moment to just think about, a roadblock. And something that just kind of keeps popping back up for you that is a concern or a fear. So close your eyes and get that in your mind. And now what I'd like you to do with your eyes closed is I'd like you to point to it. You've got a picture in your mind. Where is that picture? Take a moment to just identify where in space. And I'm going to assume that you've now got that in space. And it could be anywhere. It could be off to your left. It could be off to your right. It could be a little above you, below you. It could be anywhere in space around you. But now that you're pointing to it, I want you to take your other hand and grasp that issue. Grab that problem with your hands. Physically do this. I know you might be in a coffee shop or something somewhere. Physically do it wherever it is. And now I want you to move it behind you. I want you to put it behind you and just kind of toss it back there. So it's back behind you now. And then again, with your eyes closed, just watch it kind of disappear in the distance. Let it go back and back and back in the distance. Let it be gone. And it might still hang back there. It might be okay, a little image or a little mirage back there. But we've now physically put that behind you. And it's amazing. I don't know. Let me get a 1 if you would. Did anybody find that it was actually above their peripheral vision? Did anybody find that, that actually found that it was over to the right or the left, or it was something that was in front of them? Give me a 1 if you saw if that issue for you was in front of you.
Mine was in front and up to the left.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Anybody else identify with that? Anybody else doing the exercise, or are you just being a spectator?
We got 1s.
Okay, we got some 1s. Good. So you saw it in front. I'm not going to call your name out or anything, but this is really important, and this is an exercise you can do for yourself too. If you find yourself stuck and you're in this, what we would call an inhibitory state, you're inhibited because you have this fear, this challenge, or this issue, and it's really grinding on you. Take a moment to pause. Directly above me, somebody says, and figure out where that is. Because the fact is, you've experienced it in the past, and the key word here is it's in your past. So what's it doing in front of you or above you or somewhere that you can see? It needs to be put in its place. So put it in your past. Okay, now we're going to do the same exercise, and you might already have figured out where I'm going. And that's what I want you to do again, is go into a state with your eyes closed and find a goal, something that you really, really, really want. It could be a feeling. It could be a certain benchmark. It could be something about your business. It could be anything at all. It's personal to you, whatever it is. It could be a very personal thing. It could be a business-oriented thing. Just take that and find that one thing in your mind first. Just get the image. Just relax into that image for a minute. And let's do the same exercise again. Let's find out where that is in space. Okay, is it up to the right? Is it down to the left? Where is it? Just get a sense of where it is. And again, I want you to point to it. And then I want you to reach out and grab it. And I want you to put it right in front of you. Okay? So I'm going to assume that everybody now has that right in front of you. So we've just done a little kind of remapping of our mind, and you can do this all the time. You can do this every time you run into an issue or a challenge from your past that's creeping back up and giving you angst, giving you fear, it's shutting you down. And you can do it as well to bring those things into your space right in front of you. And I literally want you to put it right in front of you, not off in the distance, but right in front of you. So it's not a someday I'll, it's a now I'm stepping into this. I'm stepping into and owning this goal. This is where I'm going. So these are things that we fail to do because we tend to put everything outside. We take this left brain approach, if you will, that things have to be on a piece of paper or a list or on our screen. And unfortunately, we start to behave that way, as though everything's out there and away from us. And many times a goal, and you may find this if you do this visualization exercise, you may find that it's way out there in the distance. Now, I encourage you to do two things with that. If it's way out there in the distance, think about it, because it might be what we call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's good. It's great to have a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. But then try and take steps towards that goal. Say, okay, if I'm going to climb that mountain, if I'm going to climb Everest, forgetting all the bad publicity about that these days, what are the steps? What's the first goal? Well, the first goal is I need to get a plane ticket and get on a plane and get over to that area of the world. And then I need to probably take a caravan or something to get to the initial base camp. So you can break it up and move those goals into a rational way as well. So when you start to do this, you'll start to be able to move roadblocks out of your way and get this internal motivation and ask yourself, what do you really, 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 really want? Now, I'm going to give you one more exercise to think about. We're not going to do this directly with a meditation or anything. But what I want you to think about is what, again, my good friend Joseph Reggio calls the outcome of the outcome. So let's say the outcome that you want is to get $1 million. What's the outcome of that? So the outcome of that may be I'm traveling here, I'm living here, I'm able to pay for a surgery that I need or somebody in my family needs, that's not required but optional, but it's really important to them. I might be able to help a child through school. Any number of things could be the outcome of that outcome. So I want you to think about that, maybe make some notes and journal about that. When I reach this goal, what is the outcome of that? What's that going to do for me? These clarification exercises will help you really start to get that motivation, that internal motivation, so that you know where you're going and what you really, 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 really want. And this is number one. This is the first piece. And trust me, that the majority of people I talk to don't have this clear.
Yeah.
They have a fantasy, maybe they have an idea like I want $1 million, but they haven't taken time to really think this through. Because the other thing is when you journal on this, you think it through, you feel it through. And that's the other thing is when you think about the outcome of the outcome, think it, feel it, hear it, see it, 5 sense it, and really get in touch with that. Because as that comes up, you might find that there are things in there that you don't want. And that will help you clarify. And it'll help you go back and say, do I really, really want this? Or do I want something different? So really important stuff to do. Comments, questions, anybody want to jump in here? Jamie, any thoughts?
Will, yeah. I have a few I've taken some notes and I'll keep an eye on the chat. But what I wrote down in my notes is, this makes it a point of focus, grabbing what, that external thing. We all want more money. Who doesn't want more money? So that's sort of a generalized goal, right? But it's when you're doing things on purpose to achieve that outcome of the outcome, it makes it more intentional. That's what I wrote down. So you're more intentional about achieving what it is that you want.
Yeah. And if I want more money, how much more?
Right.
And then if I identify how much more, again, what's the outcome of that outcome? Why do I want that much more, and what will it do? There's been survey after survey done for people who make, why does somebody being paid $100 million a year? You got to ask yourself and think about these questions. An executive being paid $100 million a year. Why is it so important to him to be paid $150 million next year?
Mm.
Because all he knows is I want more. So there's been survey after survey done of people in right across the income spectrum. And the number one thing that they all say is, well, if I could just make a little more.
Yeah.
And that's not good enough, because that then is putting that ball in the future where you'll never get to it. It's always being pushed away. Where if that ball is, I want $5,000 more, and you're at $3,000, now you know exactly where you are and where you need to get to. So
I always ask that question, during my consults, I ask the question on my form, before we speak, what was your income last year and where do you want to get to this year? And what are you charging for your programs or products or services, so that we can see, are your goals achievable? Are they in alignment?
yes.
Or are you really all over the place? And it's amazing how many times I speak with people that it's kind of all over the place because they want what they want and there's no kind of intentionality about how they're going to get there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I'll just give one other example of that too. The same thing that I do, Jamie, you've heard me ask this question about capacity, where people will say, well, I want to double my income.
Right.
And also say, great, what's your capacity? How many more clients can you have? Break that down in a percent. And it's amazing how many people come back to me and say, well, I've got 25% more room to grow. So wait a minute, you want to grow 100%, but you only have 25%. So you see how these exercises help you align. And then when they make sense, then not only does your conscious mind understand it and know what to do, but your subconscious now aligns it, and it's integrated and it's congruent. Otherwise, you're constantly battling this incongruency that's going on in your head. So without further ado, let's go forward with our next point here. And I'm gonna jump, I guess. It's not as great as I thought, the easy webinar. So the second thing that I want to talk about is exactly and precisely what you have to offer. So, you think about this. Can you imagine if you were working, I always love to do this. People think that for some reason, all the rules of owning and operating and running a business were thrown out the window when the internet was created, or that they start online, and they think that nothing applies. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the business principles that have been around forever are just the same online as they are offline. So many people run an online business like this. You walk into a store and you're interested in what they have, and the person walks up to you, a salesperson walks up to you and smiles and says, hi, how are you? And you go, great. They go, oh, that's nice. And they stand there. They have nothing to offer. And this is what we see over and over again online, is people haven't clarified. They haven't said, I sell widgets. and here are my widgets, and this is what they're going to do for you. Can you imagine a retail store that would be completely empty and you just walked in and they didn't even ask you what you wanted? And yet many people run their online business this way. So you have to be very clear. What are you offering? What's your promise? I need to know that if I'm even interested in carrying on a conversation with you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because we're not going to get to this stage. So even if I want to, let's really simplify this. If I want to meet somebody, one of the first things I have to offer is probably my hand, or my name, or a question. But if I have nothing to offer, then why would that person ever even speak to me? So we might use the metaphor of a dating analogy, which is, those of you who know me know that I love to pull those in. But, if you're the wallflower that's hanging around waiting and waiting and waiting and never stepping out and asking the girl or the guy to dance, that's your offer, by the way, then it's never going to happen. You're going to go home from the dance, once again, alone. So you need to think about this in this simple way. And that's really how simple it is. What do you have to offer? Why are we even having this conversation? Why did you reach out to me? So, in a social situation, it's the offer of friendship. It's the offer of conversation. It's the offer of getting to know somebody. In business, what are you offering somebody? And a lot of people get all hung up on, well, I am offering to solve your problem. And a matter of fact, I am offering to solve your problem X. And you don't even know if they have problem X. You haven't taken the time to even understand it or ask the question first. So this kind of leads back to some of our in fact, our last webinar, which was slow down to speed up. Take time to get to know your audience. Take time to get to know people so that you know what you have to offer. It ties directly into the third one, which is specifically who you want to work with and are uniquely suited to serve. So if we tie these two together, this is another problem that often happens is people, here's a great example. You probably all heard the expression that build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your doorstep. Anybody, give me a 1 if you've heard of that expression.
Yep.
You've heard of that, Jamie?
I have.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody knows the initial story, how many times a better mousetrap was made and failed. Because that was never validated. Nobody ever wanted a better mousetrap. It worked. And to this day, the majority of mousetraps are still that chunk of wood with the spring on it.
Right.
So you might have something to offer, but you better get off of your high horse in terms of thinking that you know what somebody needs, you know what somebody wants, and take the time to really get to know that person or your audience. So that person could be a plural, could be a group of people. And this is where we come into minimum viable audience. You can't know what everybody in the world needs. And even if you did, if you tried to offer that, it would be so broad that no one would ever be interested in listening to what you have to say, because people want to feel unique. And they want to feel that whether it's a problem or a goal or a passion or a dream, they want that to be unique to them, and they want to feel that it's unique. And if you're not able to speak to them in that language, if you're not able to show how much you care about them and their interests, then they won't care about what you have to sell. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So we need to take the time to show that we care. And how do we care? We care by asking questions, by understanding, by doing research, by doing our homework, by getting to know our audience, the people we believe we're uniquely suited to serve better than they know themselves. And a little tip on this too. When I say uniquely suited to serve, that lies in your personal history. This is some of the stuff that we go into in our clarification work. And sometimes it can take some time, but you have a unique bundle of life experiences and strengths. And I don't care who you are uniquely suited to serve and help someone. And sometimes some of us need to get in touch with that again and get reacquainted with our life history and our personal history and how we're uniquely suited to serve. So this is something that you want to think about as well, is how you are brought to where you are today. And I just want to tell you a quick story of this. It's interesting watching my boys grow up. They're both one's in university, one's just graduated and is finishing up postgraduate work. And of course, each experience they've had in their life, they've gone through. One of my sons particularly, he can kind of look at that in a microcosm and say, gee, I tried that and failed, or it wasn't for me. But now the threads are starting to form. And the example specifically that I want to give you is he decided at one point in time he wanted to teach English because he loves to travel and he was going to teach English as a second language. And he tried that and was a little depressed that, it wasn't his path. He didn't want to do that. So it was yet another thing that he didn't complete. And yet now, fast forward a few years later, and the work that he's doing has actually allowed him to work now in Barcelona, Spain, where all of that knowledge and experience will be coming to bear because part of his position will be teaching English to others. Mm-hmm. So there are threads to your personal history, no matter how much you want to deny them or feel uncomfortable about them or wish that you could put them in your past. There are threads in many pieces of that personal history that make you who you are today. And they make you why and who you are to uniquely serve a particular audience. And this is what's going to attract people to you. It's not going to be your methodology. It's not going to be your, I've got the checklist that nobody's ever had, the magic bullet. That's not what people are after. They're after you, and they're after your unique life experience. Going on to number 4 here. Number 4 is a business model that's perfectly designed to achieve your goal. Now, this seems really simple, and yet it's not. It deserves the thought that success, will bring you in terms of the ROI that you're willing to put in. Because a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, this, this. And matter of fact, I'm going to publish a video here probably today or tomorrow about this, where a lot of people get this in their mindset that, yeah, I want this business. It's going to bring me in millions of dollars and everything. And they don't realize that there's a huge commitment to doing that. And that means you might have to establish an agency. First of all, are you uniquely suited to create an agency? Are you a good manager, a hirer? Are you a good person to study data and to make sure that you can give feedback and coach people and train and develop them? Because many of these business models require that. You need to develop a team. Do you really want that? Do you want to be on call potentially 24/7 as you grow and you build your business? Are you prepared to go out and raise capital? Maybe you need a $1 million or a $5 million or a $7 million budget for advertising and marketing to build this huge organization that you want to build. And again, coming back to number 1, is it what you really, 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 really want? So think about your business model. Is it one where you're going to be a solopreneur? Well, realize that then will take a certain set of things in order to structure being a solopreneur and what your business will look like. And this is, again, where I find a lot of people get conflicted, and they reach out and want to do things that maybe an agency can do, and they think they can do them on their own. And it gets you caught in a DIY trap. Because when you start to think agency goals, but you believe that you want to do that as a solopreneur, then you get caught in this trap where there's way too much that needs to be done for one person to accomplish. It just can't happen. It just can't be done. So we want to think about that. Now, some of the other things you want to think about in your business design, your business model, is the who in that are going to help you and are going to help you succeed and build your organization. So one of the missing pieces for me, although I've worked with different people over the years, is a few years ago, Jamie and I were introduced for totally different reasons. And what I came to realize was that Jamie really became a missing piece for me. So Jamie had this expertise and this personality and this stick-to-itiveness and the ability to manage and implement, particularly in social media, campaigns at a much higher level than I wanted to do. And when we met, it was kind of like this missing piece that appeared for me in terms of having Jimmy. And that's why we partnered up in what I would call a joint venture relationship. So as a solopreneur, many people get caught up in this idea of DIY, I got to do everything myself, and you're going to die doing that. First of all, you'll never be able to solve all your problems because you need outside perspective. And you don't just need one person, you need a number of people that are helping and supporting you. And the other reason is you can't do it all. So you need to figure out who can pull in those pieces. I like to use, I don't have the quote here, but Peter Drucker's famous statement that do what you do best and outsource the rest. To me, that's the ideal business model as a coach and consultant, is that I'm only doing coaching, teaching, events, and everything else is basically taken care of for me. In other words, I have other people that are taking care of those other components for me. Jamie, I know you're probably itching to share a story in here.
Well, so I've taken a few notes, and I want to say, Mark, thank you for all the kind words that you said about me and being your missing piece. And I'm just going to share with you, not to have this big love fest for all of you, but Mark is my missing piece too. And I'm going to share with you why. And I'm really glad that we were introduced. But, I work with clients in social media and all of that, and I help them to market and get their messages out there. And I ask when we start, who's your ideal clients? And a lot of times they don't know it, and neither do I at that time, but they're off base. So there's a missing clarity component. So Mark has, graciously joined into my life and into my business, where he really helps my clients to get very clear on who they serve and exactly how they're going to serve them. A lot of the things that we're talking about today. So that clarity was a missing piece for my clients, not so much for me, but the clients that I work with. And so it's really made a big difference in having him be a part of what I offer. I wanted to talk about point number 3, and I can't remember what it was, but I'm just going to touch on what I wrote down, which is Mark was sharing about, when you tell your own experience, that unique perspective that you bring, it's, how you transformed and transcended a problem. A lot of my own business, and I don't know if this is true for any of you on this call, but I'm able to attract people because I've been down the road that they're on. And I struggled for a long time in my business. And that's my story. I always start my consultations by telling my own story. It wasn't an easy ride. Let me help you shortcut this. Now, from another perspective, I can now help other people. And so they come to me and they're magnetized to me and attracted to me because that's my story. And I've been able to transcend a major problem.
Yes, so powerful is sharing you and who you are and what you've done in your life's journey. And obviously, you don't want to spend hours doing that and give somebody, the tome of your
Right.
life. You don't want to be that kind of person. But those
No.
stories are what are going to attract people. Those are those gems that people attach themselves to and say, "Wow, I'm experiencing that. I'm feeling that too at this point in time. And you've been there and done that. I can identify with you. I want to work with you."
Yeah, you fixed the problem that I'm dealing with. So if you have fixed it, then I want what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I find with this idea of a business model is that many people, and I want to kind of bring in this concept of traditional business or offline businesses versus online business. And of course, we see this a lot in offline businesses that go bankrupt too, is the story of the wood stove. Now, some of you might be familiar with Earl Nightingale and the old story that he told about the wood stove. And the idea of the wood stove is there's a guy that's cold and shivering, and he's sitting in front of a wood stove with a pile of wood, and he's yelling at the wood stove saying, "Give me some heat and I'll give you some wood." And this is the way many people look at their business. I don't know, Jamie, you can certainly validate this. And probably those of you who are active coaches and consultants on this call can validate this too. How many times you've had this conversation where somebody says, "Well, when I make a sale, then I'll invest in you.
Yeah.
When I'm making more money, I'll invest in marketing. When my cash flow improves, then I'll invest in those things that I need to do to grow my business."
Yeah.
And you can see how counterproductive this sort of thinking is. Or in this case, this fellow going, "You're fired." So he fires the wood stove for not giving him any heat, but he's the one that failed to put any wood into it or invest anything in it in the first place. So this comes back to business design. You need to think of this. And this is another conversation that I often have. People will say, "Well, I'm not really a business." Or, "I didn't get into this, I've never been in business before, and I didn't get into this thinking of it as a business. So it doesn't really apply to me." And you can see the incongruency in that. How are you possibly going to be successful if you don't look at what you're doing as a business? Another example of this, pardon me a minute, I have a dog that's banging down the door, so I need to let him in. Happiness is adjusting to a space where other creatures live.
As long as your dog doesn't bark, my dog won't bark.
Yes, fortunately he doesn't bark. He's lost his voice. But the other thing I was trying to think of that I wanted to share, and I got off track there. See, you distracted me, Jasper, about this point. And forgive me, I've forgotten, but it's back to the business model design again. And having that and thinking this through and really getting clear on that, it'll come back to me. Or if not, it wasn't that important to say anyway. So the reality check here is your business is perfectly designed to achieve the results you are currently getting. So if you aren't getting what you want, stop pretending there's a magic solution out there somewhere. The answer is obvious. You simply haven't designed your business to get you what you want. So you need to clarify, what do I want? If I'm getting something different, do I really want it? Do I really have a desire to get it? And then going through the steps of business design, which are really simple. What do I want? What do I have to offer? Who do I have to offer it to? How can I design a business to get that as easily and quickly to the marketplace as I can? So that's a reality check, to just stop and pause and think about that for a moment. And that story was coming back to me, and then it went out again. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. Jamie, I shared it with you as well. So it was a story I shared with a client, and I said, this fellow was jumping around and looking for solutions in other areas, just trying new things. And I said, that's great, but I want to give you a little story. And the story is, let's say that you want to go fishing. So the first thing you have to decide is, what do I want? What do I really, really want? Well, you might just want to go fishing. Or you might want and need to catch a fish. Maybe you're hungry and you need to catch dinner. So what he was doing with trying new things is like rowing out to the middle of a lake, throwing a hook with a worm on it overboard, lying back in the sun and fishing. That's fine if he's not worried about catching a fish. But if he's interested in catching a fish, his goal is catching a fish, then he needs to think a lot more closely about what he's doing and the tactics that he's going to use to do that. So if his goal is fishing, getting a rowboat and a hook and a worm and going out in the middle of the lake is fine. But this is where the incongruency and the conflicts come in. Is if he then comes back and goes, that lake's dead, it sucks, somebody told me to fish here, I didn't even get a nibble. Who's that on? That's his business design. That's his fishing design, because he set the wrong goal. He said, I want to go fishing, and said, I'm going to catch a fish. Because if he's going out to catch a fish, then first he would have taken time to stop and get a map of the lake. He would have found out what fish were in the lake, whether they were even were edible. He would have found out, what do those fish like to eat? What bait do I need to use? Where are those fish hanging out in the lake? Are they in the depth or in the shallows? He might even talk to some local people and say, what's going on with the fish this time of year? Where do they tend to be? And then he'd have much greater odds and would probably catch himself a fish. So I think it's a great metaphor for business design. Is you've got to ask yourself, you got to go back and ask, what do I really want? Do I want to go fishing, or do I want to catch a fish? And if I want to catch a fish, am I doing everything I need to do to understand the marketplace, the fish that I'm going after? What do I want to eat? What do I like the taste of, the flavor of? And then finding out about them, finding out about the fish. What's it like to eat? Where does it hang out? What's going to motivate it to jump into my boat? So I hope you like that story.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so related to the marketing space. So yeah.
It's related to the marketing space. And then the other component kind of comes back to the idea of, your business design in terms of the people that are involved in it. And if you think you can solve every problem on your own, and you think that you can build a successful enterprise or business, or even coaching and consulting solopreneurship all by yourself, you will fail. And this is a great quote from John Maxwell, is one is too small a number to achieve greatness. No accomplishment of great value has ever been achieved by a human being working alone. So
true.
Think about that. And who are you putting into your team? Here's another example I want to give you that I've used and use all the time with clients, is the concept of a virtual focus group. So reaching out to past clients or people that you've done work with in the past, asking them questions, surveying them, finding out what's going on, and then asking a select group, those who engaged with you, 3, 5 people, just a handful of people, say, would you be willing to be part of my virtual focus group? And the whole intent here is, I just want to be able to grow my business by having honest conversation with people and being able to ask questions of you so that you can give me feedback on what I'm doing. So an example of that might be, I want to test a headline, or I want to test a message. I just want to be able to send that to you and you give me feedback on that. It's a powerful way of helping you clarify your messaging and understand whether it's really saying what you want it to say. If you do that all by yourself, you're firing and firing and firing, and you might not even be close to the target.
No. And you'll be surprised how many people will be very honest and really enjoy that participation of helping you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of telling somebody what they need to do, I call it shooting on people.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, how about just asking people for help and watching what comes of that? The 5th point, essential piece, is decisiveness, becoming an action machine. And this is so important, particularly in the internet space, because we tend to almost be trained by the computer and the internet and all this messaging that we get to be paralyzed. And because there's so much being thrown at us, And this is where you really need to get clear. One of the things I encourage you to do is once you get on this path, do that inner work, turn off all these things you subscribe to, unsubscribe from everything. And if you've found a method of teaching, a coach, a particular path you want to follow that person or that methodology exclusively.
Yes.
Because all the other noise is going to be noise that will distract you and paralyze you.
Yep.
Give it a time limit if you need to. Say, I am going to pour my heart and soul and be 100% committed to these concepts for, my suggestion is a minimum of 90 days. By the end of 90 days, you should have a good feeling as to whether you're on the right path or not. The other part of this is once you decide and you start to move forward, is continue to move forward and take action and realize that nothing is going to come, like really in terms of in a perfect way, and that you're going to have to refine as you go. So be in that constant process of refinement. This was a concept I introduced Jamie to a long time ago, and I introduced everybody to that I can, is the concept of Kaizen. And this is right out of, I think, Wikipedia, is the Japanese word for improvement. And in business, Kaizen refers to activities that continuously improve all functions and involve all employees from the CEO to the assembly line workers. It also applies to processes such as purchasing and logistics that cross organizational boundaries into the supply chain. It has been applied in healthcare, psychotherapy, life coaching, government, and banking, and more. And this is how the Japanese were able to dominate the electronics business, for example. Those of you who are aware of the history there, where the idea of the Japanese having a quality piece of stereo equipment or something never existed. That was actually came into the United States. The Japanese were able to take that and become the world's dominator when it comes to electronics. They did the same thing in the automotive industry. And the key here is the idea was, I don't know if those of you remember when the Japanese first entered kind of the automotive industry in America, and we used to call them rust buckets. And they didn't give up. They didn't go, oh, we blew it. Let's run back to Japan. They used Kaizen to figure out what was wrong. And they refined and they improved and they refined and they improved. And they're still doing that to this day. So we need to apply this to our own business and be constantly in action mode, where we're taking action, we're making decisions. We're not going, I'll think about it, or I'll set that aside for a while. No, take an action and make a decision immediately. Particularly when you're a solopreneur and you're struggling and you're getting started, you need to be an action machine. So when you get a little piece of information, if you do attend a webinar or whatever, you need to decide right then and there, yep or no. Don't save the link. Don't think, well, that sounded interesting, I might get around to that. Mm-hmm. It just clutters up your mind. It clutters up everything about your business. Be an action machine. Take action right away. Decide if you're in or you're out, and then move on. And when you decide to take action, then go in fully committed. And I'm going to share.
I love how you say this, Mark. You say, we all don't need another thing in our maybe pile.
Yes.
I love that term. I think about that.
Yeah. And the other one I love is the someday I'll.
Yeah.
Refuse to be part of the someday I'll group. Because that's putting that someday I'll have what I want. Someday I'll have the business I really want. Someday I'll be acting and behaving and doing the things that a successful business person does. It's back to the fire stove example.
Yeah.
No, you need to be doing it now. Because someday will never come if you act differently now. And this is a key component of that. So this is the fifth essential piece. So I'm just going to do a quick recap here and then a couple points, and then we'll open up to Q&A. So number one is decide what you really, 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 really want. And don't give this lip service. A lot of people think, oh, that's easy. It's not easy. Buy yourself a journal. Do the work. It takes work. And you may have to break through some really tough areas in order to decide on this. It's not as easy as you think it is. And if you do think it's easy and you're just fluffing it off, you haven't done the work.
It's soul searching.
Yeah, it's really getting in touch with what you really, 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 really want. Every morning, get up and ask yourself that question. Number two, exactly and precisely what you have to offer. What are you stepping out into the world to give? What's your promise? What are you going to give people? You have to be clear on that. Specifically who you want to and are adequately suited to serve. Pick your audience. Get hyper focused on that. You've seen us post about the concept of the minimum viable audience. Get really laser focused. It'll bring so much more joy to your life and your business. You'll become more successful. Jamie shared an article a while ago. I don't have it up here right now, but it was just on why that's so important. And it was a wonderful, wonderful article that somebody wrote. Business model. Look at your business model and ask yourself, is this perfectly designed to achieve the goal that I have? Is this perfectly designed to get me what I really, really want? If you're not sure, then do the work. Get some help. Hire a coach. Do the research. Find out what a business like yours is doing. Go and find a mentor. Go and look at businesses that are out there that are aligned and are achieving the goals that you want to achieve. Do the work. Be decisive. Become an action machine. So what I would suggest to you that you leave this and make that decision, become an action machine. Don't do the same thing. Because, now this was attributed to Einstein. There's lots of debate whether this was true or not, whether he said it or not. But doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is truly coming from insanity. And we know that many times we are very much insane when we're in business. So don't be insane. Get back to sanity. I want to share with you the bonus, if you will. This is our offer from today's webinar, which is a comprehensive analysis of your online presence. We're going to dive in and look at how do you appear to the world? Is your offer clear? Can I immediately look at you and go, I know what you do. I know who you serve. And if I'm in that group, I'm interested and I want to talk to you. We're going to talk about that, give you a one-on-one consultation, help you discover your missing piece. This is a private one-on-one consult where we get to know each other and we help you identify these things. One of the things we promise you, and when Jamie and I work with you, there's no pitch, there's no obligation to work with us, and there's no cost. So this is our way of paying it forward and establishing a relationship. And, to be with full transparency, the whole goal here is that at the end of these conversations that we're both going, yeah, I want to work with you. Yeah, I want to work with you. Great. Let's work together.
Yeah. I put that up in the chat. I hope you can all see it. You just click on the button. It's a red button that says I'm interested. Mark, do you see it? So make sure.
I do. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, be an action taker, like Mark said. And I wanted to comment too on something that we always talk about is, when you really get clear on who you serve, because we always talk about if you endeavor to help everyone, you help no one. So you want to be very, very, very specific on who you help and what you do for them. What is that transformation? So
yes, cool. Yes.
Yeah.
And another kind of that concept of, if the audience, if you try and help everyone, you're helping no one. And from your business structure and your business design, the idea of, what's that expression? I always gap on this. I got to find it for you because I know I've got it here somewhere.
Well, I'll just share a little bit about, very quickly. I was stuck for at least 2 years in my business in the beginning when I was struggling. And it was really around I had my coaches saying you need a target market. And I was like, no, I found that to be very limiting. And actually it's not. It is actually very freeing to define a target market. And it doesn't mean that you have to be exclusive, that it doesn't mean that you don't take on business. If somebody wants to work with you and you want to work with them, even if they don't fit that ideal target market. But I was just stuck there I just want to help anybody who with a credit card. Why wouldn't I? So don't be stuck there.
I remember what the expression was, and it's to be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yes.
And that's where often and it applies at so many different levels in our business, because people say, well, I can help everybody, I can take care of everybody. And they have these generic, statements in their marketing. It doesn't help at all. And also in terms of the inner side, in terms of having a business, like your business model and your business design. So if you try and be a jack of all trades and you're saying, okay, so I'm going to be my own marketer, I'm going to do my own books, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to clean the toilet, I'm going to mop the floors. And yeah, maybe you can do all of those things, but I guarantee you'll do none of them well, and you'll be a master of none.
Yeah.
So when we think about our models in life, no matter what business they're in, whether they're a corporate enterprise like, and my brain is not functioning today, but the Virgin Airline guys.
Oh, Richard Branson?
Richard Branson. You think about people like that, whether it's somebody like that, whoever you want to think about, you realize that they really do focus on their uniqueness and what their level of mastery is. And then they leverage that to do whatever they're doing, and they succeed. And Oprah, yeah, they surround themselves with people who can get the job done.
Yeah, she just show up. I mean, not that that's all she does, but they all handle all that stuff, and she just shows up on the stage. Not
yes,
anymore,
yeah. So let's switch now for any comments, questions, anything. We've got a few minutes left here to have a little brainstorming session if you like, or a Q&A.
Oh, and I'll also put up, I hope that y'all, clicked on the I'm interested button, but I also wanted to put up for those of you who are not members for our membership program. We're offering 1 free month. Let me go ahead and broadcast that. So those of you who are not in the group, go ahead and try us out. We offer lots and lots of free resources in there, and, guidebooks and worksheets and all kinds of really cool stuff. Lots of webinars, lots of bonuses, all of everything that we've done in a long time. So you have access to all that. But yeah, let me check the chat, see if we've got questions, comments. Anybody want to pick our brain for a minute or so? We've got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah,
so
4 minutes.
On
and hopefully you're thinking, no, I already signed up for that one-on-one consult, and I'll ask my questions then. And that would be great. We would very much look forward to getting to know you better in your business and giving you, just a full consult where we're gonna dive deep and just really give you everything that we possibly can in that time that we have together.
Okay, we have a couple questions popping in here. Okay, first one, what are the possible quote unquote business structures?
So if this is where we're obviously online, and there's an assumption, because Jamie and I target, our niche, if you will, is coaches and consultants. And there's a subset within that too. I won't go into detail in terms of describing our whole avatar to you here, but there are a number of coaches and consultants we do not market to. We have a very clear target market that we go after, and happy to share that at another time with you. But in the limited time we have, we don't want to bother going in there. So, possible business structures for a coach and consultant. So you can look at this. You want to begin first with saying, "Am I a solopreneur?" Thank you, whoever answered. Oh, that was Jamie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Internally motivated, externally driven was the IMED acronym. So as a coach or consultant, you kind of have to make a choice. You have to think deeply about this. Do I want to build an organization? So what I would call an agency. In other words, am I going to build this up, be a marketing machine, have coaches and consultants that come to me and, that I market, that I send out there. So I say I've got a core message, and then I have a team of people that I might send to do that work. That would be like an agency, if you will. So that's one model. And then another model would be the solopreneur. That would be the coach or consultant who says, hey, listen, I want to deal with a certain number of clients. Here's my capacity. Here's what I want to do. Here's how many days off I want per week, per month, per year. Here's the income level I need. So therefore, help me design, a coaching and consulting practice that's going to achieve those goals. That would be a solopreneur. The third type of person that often comes to us, and this is a difficult one because they often get this out of order, is the person that wants an e-commerce business. And we do get this often, where people say, I've got this great ebook and or this great program, and I want you to, it's only $199, and I want you to help me sell it to 1 million people so that I can become a multimillionaire. And there's certainly a place for e-commerce and for people to build that into their business model, but as a standalone, it's pretty difficult. So, and the reason for that is you need to have authority. You need to be able to build yourself in a space where people say, yes, I want to buy your course, or yes, I want to buy your book. And until you have that authority, until you've built that up, selling 1 million units of that is pretty much impossible, because there's a lot of other people out there who are doing that, and there's a lot of them that do it well. As a matter of fact, watch for one of the videos I'm going to put. It's a guy named Sam Ovens, who I have great respect for. I think Sam does some really good things. He's a young fellow, and he very clearly shows in his video how he's invested over $7 million in paid ads to grow his business. You guys making $1 million, what is it, $1 million a week or something, or
yeah,
some crazy amount of money. But to get to that level, he has invested 7 million, and he didn't just invest 7 million and then go, oh, now I'll just let the $1 million a week roll in. He continues to invest millions of dollars in marketing. So understanding those structures. So where do you want to go? So nothing wrong with saying this is where I'm going, just knowing what that business structure is and not confusing them. So not expecting one thing with a different business model. And that's the important thing. And again, that's part of that clarification, getting really, really clear on what you want and then what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah. A lot of people have courses and books and e-products and all of that. And like Mark was just saying, when you put it out there and you put it to the masses and you just hope, that's that passive income feeling, so put up a course and have people go to it and listen, I've got courses and I know what that's like. But if you are specific in who you help with your courses, they'll resonate with it and want to purchase it. It's not just about, let me just put it out there and hope everybody buys it.
Yeah. And we know Gary Vaynerchuk did a great post on this. Those of you who listen to him, I know some people can't tolerate his profanity. I happen to love it. But I'm got a twisted sense of humor sometimes. But he did a great post on this and a video on it, and it really is true. And the big thing is that the concept of passive income is a complete myth. There's only one way to get passive, or there's a couple ways to get passive income. One is to have a large sum of money that you can invest, and you invest it wisely, and the ROI on that investment gives you passive income. So you got $1 million, you invest it at 10%, and you have $100,000 of passive income coming in every year. That's one way to get passive income. Another is if you happen to have a very wealthy family tree, and an uncle or an aunt or a parent left you a trust fund, and that gives you passive income every month. And I know Jimmy's laughing, but this is reality. This is where passive income comes from. And the other way is to spend all of your energy and time building a successful business that will then pay you dividends. But again, an agency level business potentially that's going to pay you dividends, where you're going to be able to step out of the role as CEO and president and have other staff in place that are continuing to run that business, and you are able to draw dividends from that business. Those are three of the ways that I'm aware of to create passive income. Creating an ebook or a course and throwing it online and selling it cheap is not a way to create passive income. Can you create income? You can create a lot of income from it, but it's going to take a lot of work. These guys, if you actually listen to their stories, the Frank Kerns, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Sam, I've gapped on his name again. Sam Ovens. If you listen to their stories, they will tell you they are driven. And they make millions of dollars, and they work 80 hours a week. And why do they work 80 hours a week? Because they love it.
Yeah.
And
teams, but yes, because
they have teams of people around them, and they hire more people and they train, but it's they're totally vested in it. So, there's all of these.
A brand. They're not just like a company. They're a brand.
They've built a brand, and they've succeeded and they failed, and they've lost millions of dollars as well as made millions of dollars. So it's all possible. Yeah. You just have to realize you can't, many times people think they want one with the other out the other. I want the heat from the stove, but I don't want to invest the wood in it.
Yeah. From a female perspective, there's a couple of coaches that I really respect. You've thrown out a few names of some men. I love Amy Porterfield. I love Marie Forleo. Yeah. Marie Forleo has been featured on Oprah and all of that. And I love how they tell their stories, because they say, and they've got it all going on. They've got a whole team of stylists and the whole bit. And she records videos every single week, and she looks so phenomenal. But she tells a story that she was really, it took years to get here, years and years and years, and blood, sweat, tears, money, you name it. It's not an overnight kind of thing to build a business and build a brand. But stick with it. I feel like I've got a brand. I think people, have come to know me, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
We can all be our own brands. Just how much do you want to invest in your success?
And we're past due, which we typically try and start right on time. We occasionally run over.
Yeah, we're happy to stay and answer questions, but yeah, I think I don't think there's any others that I see in the chat. So
Okay.
yeah,
Love to talk to you. Love to help you, know more about your business and help you get, at least some questions answered and help you find at least one missing piece that's going to help you take your business to the next level. Thank you so much for hanging around.
And we're gonna request your feedback too on this. So
yes. Please leave us feedback.
Yep, and please attend our webinars every month. We do this. What is it? The third or fourth Wednesday of the month. So
yes,
yeah, look for our announcements. Thank you everybody for being here.
Bring a friend. Bring a friend to the next.
You're welcome. We have a thank you, and you're very welcome. Take care, everybody.